progress.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call to order the August 3rd, 2022 SFO Airport Community Roundtable meeting at 7 p.m. We are meeting via Zoom, and joining us today, staff to the Roundtable, Kathleen Wentworth, Roundtable Coordinator, Angela Montez, Roundtable Administrative Secretary, Jeanette Lujan, Executive Secretary, San Mateo County Planning Department, Jean Reindell, Aviation Technical Consultant from HMMH. We also have with us Lisa Awazasad, Deputy Director, Planning and Building Department, County of San Mateo, Linda Wallen, Senior Legislative Aide to Supervisor Pine, Bert Ganong, San Francisco International Airport Noise Office Manager. Ms. Wentworth, would you mind telling us who's with us today from our friends at the FAA?
We have Ms. Fabiola Garcia, who is the Deputy Regional Administrator.
Wonderful,
Welcome,
thank you. Welcome, Fabi. Okay, at this point, Ms. Montez will advise the public how they can participate during the public comments.
Thank you, Chairman Hindi. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment periods, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak, followed by *6 to unmute once called upon. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and inform you that you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montez. And now moving on to roll call, Ms. Wentworth, would you please proceed?
Yes, City and County of San Francisco, Board of Supervisors. No response. City and County, San Francisco Mayor's Office. No response. City and County of San Francisco Airport Commission.
Here, Doug Yakel.
Thank you, Doug. San Mateo County Board of Supervisors.
Here, Dave Pine.
Thank you, Supervisor. CCAC, Airport Land Use Commission. No response. Town of Atherton. Response. City of Belmont. No response. City of Brisbane.
Carrie O'Connell, present.
Thank you. City of Burlingame. Town of Colma.
John Goodwin here.
Thank you. City of Daly City. We understand Ms. Giovanni will be joining us, but she is just finishing up a closed session at her council, and she should be here about 7:45, hopefully. Continuing on, City of Foster City.
Sam Hindi here.
City of Half Moon Bay. No response. Town of Hillsborough.
Present, Al Royce.
City of Menlo Park.
Julia Taylor, present.
City of Millbrae.
Ann Schneider, present.
City of Pacifica.
Mike O'Neill, present.
Town of Portola Valley. No response. City of Redwood City.
Good evening, Jeff G.
Hello, Mr. G. City of San Bruno. No response. City of San Carlos. No response. City of San Mateo. No response. City of South San Francisco.
Mark Adiego here.
Town of Woodside. No response. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're close. 11. We need 13. 13. We do not quite have a quorum yet.
Okay, so before we get started, and maybe perhaps hopefully we could get a quorum, let me do land acknowledgement to start our meeting with acknowledging that we are on unceded ancestral homeland of the Hermitage Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their tradition, the Hermitage Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as a caretaker of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, I recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Hermitage community and by affirming their sovereign rights as First Peoples. I also pay my respect to the Indigenous elders past, present, and future, and to those who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. Thank you. So Ms. Wentworth, if we don't have a quorum, obviously we cannot conduct any official business, if you will, such as taking action. You still at 11, or do you see someone joining? Perhaps Ms. Montes could help us if anyone else joined.
Thank you, Chairman. I have not seen any other member join. I did look to see whose phone number I have, and I did message Member Ortiz. I have not heard back from him to see if he's able to join us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How short are we?
2.
We have 11 members
24.
present, 11 members present, and we, at the moment, we need one more member.
Did we want to adjourn hoping Daly City arrives at a 7:45? And we just adjourn till then?
Or,
Let's kind of give it a few moments just in
Yeah.
case somebody joined in late. 7:45 is a long time to
Mr. Chairman,
re-adjourn.
we can take public comment, can we not, while we're waiting?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Vice Chair Royce. Thank you. Kind of do the items, if you will, that are not action items at least, and then hopefully by the time we need to take the action item, we will have quorum. So definitely we could proceed. Let's go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda, which is public comments for items that are not on the agenda. This is the time for members of the public who would like to speak on items that are not on the agenda. If you would like to speak on an item that is on the agenda, please wait till that item is being discussed, and we'll be happy to give you the floor. Ms. Montes?
Thank you, Chairman. I do have 3 hands raised from members of the public. So I will first call on Mr. Mark Scholl, followed by Mr. Peter Grace. Mr. Scholl?
Thank you. And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn because I'm not sure if the East Palo Alto item is allowable, but I'd just like to say that, I'd like to welcome East Palo Alto to the roundtable. I mean,
Mr. Scholl, this is for, I'm sorry, this is for items not on the agenda.
yeah, okay. I'll save it till then. I wasn't sure. Thanks.
Thank you. I will now call on Mr. Peter Grace, followed by Darlene Yapley. Mr. Grace?
I'm trying to, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Peter Grace. I live in Brisbane. I'd like to talk about transparency of meetings. Could I draw your attention to a perceived transparency issue when using remote meetings? When we held in-person meetings, the public could see who else was attending and had the opportunity to speak with anyone in the room. It was a great networking opportunity to connect with other members of the public, the airport staff, and the FAA. Now, when I sign in as a member of the public, I have to give my name and email address. At least I didn't today. Until people are roll called or speak, no member of the public knows who is attending the remote meeting. However, the meeting coordinator knows who is attending, how to contact. Transparency for the meeting coordinator, but not for the members of the public. Surely the public has a right to know who is attending the meeting, and if not, why not? Please consider publishing in real time who is, 1, attending the meeting, 2, who they say they're representing, 3, how to contact if appropriate. Many thanks. I'll finish.
Thank you, Mr. Grace. I will now call on Darlene Yapley, and that is the last virtual hand we have for items not on the agenda, Chairman. Ms. Yapley?
Thank you. My comment is regarding the roundtable meeting June 1st, the FAA agenda.
We lost you, Ms. Yapley.
Ms. Yapley? Sorry, we lost you for a second.
Oh. should I start over at the beginning?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. My comment is regarding the roundtable meeting June 1st, the FAA agenda item, current status of the amended surfer procedure. The FAA presentation was an example of flawed, inadequate community involvement. Per the FAA's community involvement manual, community involvement is the process of engaging in dialogue and collaboration with communities affected by FAA actions. As correctly noted by Chair Hindi, the surfer recommendation was made by the Select Committee on South Bay arrivals, not the roundtable. The FAA agenda item allowed for no dialogue or collaboration with the actual communities affected by the FAA actions. Affected communities could not ask questions during the public comment and get them answered. Instead, the roundtable members could ask questions and have them answered, but understandably, they had 0 questions given they were not the requested entity. The FAA answered 24 pre-submitted questions from community members, though the FAA did not disclose how these questions were obtained because not all affected communities were solicited for questions or notified of the agenda item. This is not transparent or inclusive community involvement. Per the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2018, the FAA Regional Ombudsman is directed to serve as a regional liaison on issues regarding aircraft noise with the public. Liaison means facilitate close working relationships, and the affected communities by FAA actions for the amended surfer did not experience such facilitation or the ombudsman role of public advocacy. I want to acknowledge that the roundtable was put in a difficult position. The FAA asked the roundtable to provide meeting time for a topic neither in the roundtable work plan nor requested by the roundtable. If possible, I ask the roundtable to please resist this type of FAA request in the future. Please don't allow the FAA to position their presentation as community engagement when the actual affected communities are not engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yapley. And Chairman, that was the last hand raised for items not on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montez.
And Mr. Chair, if I may recognize another member from the FAA who's here with us.
Sure, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Carlette Young is here from the FAA as well. And we've been trying to promote her to panelist and it's not working. So our apologies. We'll keep trying to do that.
Okay, thank you. Are we okay?
We still do not have quorum, Chairman. We have not
Okay.
had any new members join us.
Okay, so let me ask this question then. Can we at least, if there are no objection, and I don't know, do we have legal counsel with us in the meeting? Can we take like non-action items such as presentation and reports? So while we waiting till hopefully we get a quorum?
My understanding, and I'll defer to Kathleen if she recalls, but the conversation we had with Lauren from County Council was that we may continue to do any item that does not require action as long as it is a presentation only.
Thank you.
I'm going to check with Miss Carroll right now and see if I can reach her just for if you would like verification. I don't know if we can or not.
Yeah, I mean, and the city council, that's what we do, but I just want to make sure we are following the rules for the roundtable.
I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chair Hindi, that's my own personal experience as well from the County Board of Supervisors.
Thank you, Supervisor Fine. I appreciate that. And with that, then, if there are no objections from any of the members attending, we're going to kind of move around a little bit on the agenda, and we're going to start taking items that are non-action out of order. If seeing no objections, I will go ahead and move on to, let me go to the reports, probably. Let me see here, 1 second, bear with me. Perhaps I could provide my update and then move on to the SFO director report, update, and then we'll take it from there, and hopefully our quorum will be available at that point. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and out of order go to chairman update. And with that, I will have, I have one thing. I have some notes that I don't have them here yet. That's not going to be effective, but there's not yet any new information I want to give you an update on the FPPC, basically regarding the conflict of interest. There is no new information from the FPPC regarding conflict of interest code and future required filings. Our Deputy County Counsel, Lauren Carroll, will provide us with an update at the October 5th Roundtable meeting. Going forward, we are rolling back to the more efficient format for minutes. If you remember, prior to last year, the minutes were like really summarized minutes rather than detailed minutes. Having detailed minutes was very time-consuming and inefficient for staff time and so forth. So we're going to go back to the old format that we had prior to last year. The action minutes will rely on the meeting video as the best and highest source of what was said and done at the meeting, while the written minutes will provide an overview of all actions and activities which took place at the meeting. Additional video timestamps will be noted throughout the action minutes. So members of the public or anyone who would like to follow, they will have that information readily available for them. They don't have to view the entire meeting and video. We will have those timestamps for you. And in addition, the minutes will be augmented to place the meeting video link prominently at the top of page 1 of the minutes. Future enhancement will be discussed with Melbury TV, which we hope will lead to additional improvement links between the video and the written minutes. The next item that I have on my update is the new member packet has been updated and will be mailed out to new members this week. We are expecting to have relevant and updated Noise 101 ready to go, hopefully in the next 30 days. And with us, as you know, today is Ms. Fabi Garcia from the FAA. And I would like to invite Fabi to give us an update on Noise 101 from the FAA's perspective, if she's willing to do so.
Yes, Chairman Hindi, thank you for the opportunity. I just want to apologize because we did commit at the last meeting that we would be ready to, excuse me, we would be ready at the time of this meeting to provide the briefings from the FAA. Unfortunately, we're running a little bit late. One segment of the briefings that is being produced by the Office of Environment and Energy is experiencing some challenges. And we expect that that will be completed by the end of August. But please, I appreciate your patience. They are experiencing some challenges with staffing, among other things. But our expectation is that we will have that soon. We're just unfortunately not meeting the deadline that we had. So it is in the works and we will have it to you as soon as possible. Again, within the end of August timeframe, at latest early September. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you so much, Fabi, for this update. And we completely understand that things are sometimes out of our hands, and we appreciate your due diligence on this and the update. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, Mr. Ortiz has joined us. So that brings us to 12, and we just need one more.
Okay. Okay, maybe I heard two different things. I just want to make sure. Angela was saying we need one more or two. Or Angela, where do we are? We need one more, or Ricardo is good?
Yeah, pardon me, Chairman. It was my mistake. Kathleen is correct. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. I just want to make sure. I'm anxious for us to get started. Okay, thank you both. All right, with that, then let's continue moving on the reports, and we'll have the airport director's update. And Director Sotero is not with us, and in his absence, Mr. Yekel will present the airport director report, and Luis Marino will provide an update on the SFO installation program. And last but not least, Bert Ganong will present the noise office update and the noise action plan. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug. Welcome, Doug.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. Good evening, everyone. Appreciate the time. Just a few updates on passenger traffic at SFO. This past period, June and July, some of the busiest months we've seen since the start of the pandemic. Over the July 4th holiday, we saw over 69,000 passengers departing through our security checkpoint, which is the highest level of activity we've seen since the pandemic began. We finished the month of July at 75% of pre-pandemic levels. So we're still not quite back to 100%. 75% is probably the best we're going to see for the remainder of this year, since we really are at that peak flight schedule right now during the summer period. Recap of new and resuming service at SFO. We've got a new carrier, a new U.S. low-cost carrier, Breeze Airways, which is launching 2 additional destinations at SFO tomorrow. They'll be going nonstop from Provo through SFO, continuing on to San Bernardino, which will be the first ever commercial service at that airport. All of this is operated in an Airbus A220 narrow-body aircraft. The flight from Provo arrives at 9:30 in the morning and departs for San Bernardino at 10:10, then comes back from San Bernardino at 3:30 in the afternoon, goes back to Provo at 4 p.m. We also had several carriers resume service. Cathay Pacific resuming the first flights to Hong Kong since the start of the pandemic, twice a week at various times using a Boeing 777. United also resumed service to Zurich, a daily flight in a 787 aircraft in June. That's a 2:20 p.m. arrival and a 4:25 departure. United also resuming 3 flights a week to Melbourne, Australia in June, also a Boeing 787. That's an evening flight. It's a 10:45 arrival, and the departure is actually at 7 in the morning. Excuse me, other way around. 10:45 p.m. departure, 7 a.m. arrival. United is actually also suspending some flying. They're terminating all their flights to Toronto through the end of October, just citing low demand and the need to reallocate pilots. As you know, pilot scheduling a major issue. And United continues to suspend all flying to India as a result of Russian airspace concerns. I wanted to briefly talk about kind of a milestone in a future construction project called the Shoreline Protection Program. This is essentially a construction project to protect SFO from sea level rise and flooding in the future. In the simplest terms, the goal of this project is to create a seawall around our 8 miles of shoreline to protect our critical infrastructure. The timeline for this project is late 2020s, early 2030s, when we'll actually see physical construction begin. This is a project that won't have any impact on airport capacity. It won't impact any the level of flying, how many aircraft can operate at SFO, how they fly, where they fly. This is purely about protecting our critical infrastructure. There is a draft environmental impact report, which should be released at the end of this month, at the end of August. The roundtable will be included in the distribution of that EIR, and the release of that EIR will kick off a public comment period and also a Planning Commission, San Francisco Planning Commission public hearing on this. So just wanted to alert you that this is coming your way, and we'll keep you posted on the progress of that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Luis for an update on noise insulation.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, everyone. I am going to share my screen. I have a presentation for you all. And this is, again, an update of SFO's noise insulation program. My screen? Perfect. All right, so again, my name is Luis Moreno. I am SFO's project manager overseeing the noise insulation program. I'll just give a quick program overview and updates. On the agenda tonight, we have just a general overview, and then I'll dive into the different initiatives that the noise insulation program oversees: repair, replacement, second chance, and I'll talk about the new expansion of the sound insulation program, which we're calling Pre-93. So diving into the noise insulation program, here is a program overview. It's a graphic representation of the noise insulation program. What's important to see is that we have the noise insulation program, and underneath we have the sub-programs, which SFO calls initiatives. We have the repair or replacement, we have our second chance, and we have the new program expansion of the FAA, which we're calling Pre-93. I'll dive into each of these initiatives in further slides, but I wanted to point out that each initiative has sub-phases. We have 2 as-needed agreements in the repair or replacement, And the second chance has the 2019 phase, 2020 phase, 2022 phase. With the new program expansion, we're expecting a 2022 phase and additional federal funding for this initiative. Diving into repair or replacement initiative, we are excited to say that we after 4 years of formulation, we officially kicked off the repair or replacement initiative last year. We completed the pilot phase, which were 19 homes. We're looking to treat about 45 homes with a $1 million annual budget. We're excited to say that it's been a success. There's a lot of homeowner participation, and due to the number of applicants, we've actually had to put a pause on the initiative until we get through the pre-qualified homes. There has been some confusion about repair or replacement versus our second chance initiative, and I want to take just a quick minute to say that no acoustical measurements are conducted for repair or replacement, unlike the federal program, which is what we have our second chance. But other than that, we are expected to continue with the 2 as needed agreements, treating about 45 homes per year is what our current budget allots for. Our second chance initiative, this is the federal program, the original sound insulation federal program. So, again, we're very proud of all the initiatives that we have under the noise program. This one in particular, our second chance, we have more than 39 years with over 15,000 properties, over $194 million, and a 92% homeowner satisfaction rate. Unfortunately, or just because of the nature of it, we are dwindling down to the last number of eligible properties. We've identified about 246 of those properties. We've made multiple mail outs and outreach to try to get them to participate. And after multiple efforts and no real participation, and again, primarily because the numbers are just so low, we have less than 3% of the eligible homes that we're trying to reach to. Our director has agreed to close our second chance. So the applications for second chance are closing August 31st. We will still remain in construction for the next 4 years with the new 2022 grant. But again, very excited to say that we've done an excellent job. As you can tell, the numbers speak for themselves. And but with the closing of an initiative, there is a new expansion of the FAA sound insulation program, which we've talked about in the past. The FAA has been it's piloting this effort with SFO being one of them, and we're calling it Pre-93. So just an overview of what Pre-93 is. It's pretty much our second chance program, but the FAA has now deemed the homes that were previously treated or treated prior to 1993 as re-eligible for acoustical insulation. And it was actually we applied for a federal grant for this program in November of last year. And as of this month, we were told that we might be receiving some funding in September. So again, excited about this new insulation. SFO has calculated about 500 properties that might be eligible for this. The application process is expected to be like second chance, and there is no need for homeowners to apply. We've identified those properties and we continue to vet the existing properties to see if they're eligible. Again, we're not deterring homeowners from applying. I mean, we'll make the application accessible, but SFO is taking on that effort to reach out and say, hey, there is new funding, new eligibility, please join. So again, very excited about the expansion. And just to wrap things up, because I know we're on a time crunch here, a summary of the program of what we've done, what we're doing now, and where we're headed. Here's a program breakdown that talks about the previous year, the current year, and the next 5 years under the noise insulation program, with the 3 initiatives broken down. So we've completed, just in last year, 2021, we completed 75 homes that were sound insulated, starting with our replacement initiative, which I mentioned were 19 homes. Very excited about the kickoff. Now we're going to continue with 2 as needed agreements, about 45 homes every single year. And we're wrapping up our 2019 phase. We are about to advertise for construction on our 2020 phase, which will cover about 32 homes. And then again, we are expecting federal funding for our 2022 phase in September. Something to point out about the program expansion, the new program expansion, which we're calling 393, we are expecting federal funding for that phase as well. SFO asked for 12 million to kick off the 500 plus identified properties. We would be lucky and happy to get half of that if needed to just kick off, but we will continue to apply for federal funding every year thereafter until we cover the 500 homes. Now, I went through a breeze. I was told I had 5 minutes, so I do want to spend some time for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno, and I do see a couple hands at least up. Member Schneider.
Thank you, Chair. One question for, I'll do the noise insulation ones first. Congratulations, I guess. And could I get a copy of your slides? And then the big question is on this second chance pre-1993, does that still mean it's looking at the existing 65 decibel contours? So only homes within the 65 decibel contour currently would qualify?
That is correct. So everything under our noise insulation program is based on the federal accepted 2019 noise exposure map.
Which does not take into account the backblast noise and the low frequency noise moving up the hillside. So that still means that only 3 homes in Millbrae fall within the 65 decibel using the current weighted noise system, correct?
Unfortunately, we do have to abide by the 2019 federally accepted map.
Okay, and I would only report that my parents' home here in Millbrae went through the insulation program, and most of those windows have failed, and most of them were not caulked correctly. So once I moved back home, I have been repairing framing that has died, that has dry rotted because of improper installation in that 1990 timeframe. So hopefully your contractors that you're using will caulk the windows. It turns out they never caulked the windows on that. I am, of course, very disappointed that we're continuing to use a noise metric that does not account for all of us who live behind the runways. Thank you. And then to the question on when the EIR is coming out for the levy, good luck with that. However, are you planning on using Site 7 as your construction basis here in Millbrae?
And I don't know the answer to that, but we'll look into that and get back to you.
If you could, thank you very much.
Thank you, member. And now moving to Vice Chair Royce. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for that presentation, Doug and Louise. Just a couple of questions on the insulation program. Number one, I guess I would applaud you for the high rate of success, although based on the comments by Councilmember Schneider, maybe I'm not sure how you arrived at that or what metrics you use. That might be of some interest to us. But more importantly, it's on eligible homes. My understanding is that a lot of the homes that are directly underneath these flight patterns don't fall within that eligibility standard, and yet they're significantly impacted. Could you comment on that and what relief they might have and what the airport could do, if anything, to help them?
Sure. Again, unfortunately, the program is federally funded, and there are specific parameters that we have to follow. SFO has to follow for that federal funding. One of those parameters is the Part 150 map that was created. So again, the parameters and the contours that we are using are based on federal acceptance. And if we branch out of those parameters, then no federal funding would be allotted. We have concluded a report, which we've called the block rounding exercise. It is a report that we've submitted to the FAA trying to work around the perimeters of the contiguous neighborhoods of the 65 decibel contour, but that is as far as the FAA will allow us to expand. We hear the concerns and we understand that there is a need, but unfortunately, SFO hands are tied to, again, the parameters that have been set by the FAA.
All right, if I could have a follow-up, thank you. I can appreciate that. But I do know in other parts of the country, there have been some recent reports on insulation programs, which I thought were beyond the contours. Are there federal grants or some sort of other programs that exist that can assist homeowners in areas outside of the contours?
Not that I am aware of, but we are in contact, and SFO is constantly trying to vouch for sound installation outside of the parameters that we currently have. That's why we were excited about pre-93. What I will do is I will reach back out to the FAA with the comments that have been shared here, see if there is a possibility or other programs out there that SFO could apply to, and again, come back to Roundtable to present my findings.
I would appreciate that. I think we owe it to a lot of these residents who are affected by noise that don't legally fall within that requirement for assistance to find some way to help them, because many of them are probably some of the least able to represent themselves in matters like this. So if you could follow up on that, I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you.
Will do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Very well said comment. And as representative of Foster City, I could attest to that. We are definitely under a lot of noise, as you all know, and we don't qualify for installation. So very good point. Thank you. Member Diego.
Oh, Chair Hindi, thank you. I just wanted to let Mr. Moreno know how, as a representative from South San Francisco, directly under the flight path for departures, I'm very grateful for the 3 programs that the airport continues to pursue. And unfortunately, not more people took advantage of that second chance, and you're going to close on the 31st. I'm sure it's the case, but could you reassure me that you have done an adequate job in maybe communicating in more than the English language?
Sure. So yes, we have. We've sent out letters in 4 different languages. We've actually also reached out to city mayors asking for help getting more homeowners to participate. Some of these homeowners, so to answer your question, yes, multiple languages, but we've also done door-to-door outreach and mailing, letters, door tags. I think the numbers speak for themselves. We're down to the last 3% that we've identified as eligible. Most of the feedback that we get is they don't believe that, well, COVID took a huge impact on homeowners that wanted, to participate because of the exposure. Sure. But then also there are homeowners that just don't feel like they want to abide by some of the requirements, some of them being code requirements. If there's an unpermitted area, they would have to go back and get the permit. We have multiple reasons why homeowners do not want to participate, but when presented to the director, I think there is just a number that says, well, to be technical, it's the 2.6% of homeowners out there that we've done 3 to 4 times outreach. And I think some of these are actually getting annoyed by us coming back to them saying, we've already said no, thank you.
Okay, all right. But yeah, thank you for the reassurance. And I appreciate your extra effort in the communities.
Of course.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any further hands up from members of the roundtable. Let's, I believe Bert's going to have a presentation as well. Thank you, Mr. Moreno.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead and present on our noise office updates. Launch that. There we go. So real quickly, want to talk about a Neem reporting. We've been promising that since, oh gosh, late last year. And we definitely are working hard on getting that in. We're seeing the results on it. We're making the dialing in each site. I've spoken with some of the members in the community, and it's definitely a site-by-site exercise where we have to make sure that they're all dialed in to work properly for it. It's not something you just open up and apply and run it. So it's something that we plan to present at the September 2022 Technical Working Group. That is going to be where we show what we have been doing, what our results are, and where we're going with it. You already had the, let's see, Title 21 Quarterly Noise Reports. 2009 through 2016, that request was made. We've been working on that for some time now, and we're on track for a December 2022 delivery. So excited about that one. The one that really excited about is our night hush reporting that we've been promising. We have it. It's attached to the director's reports. And so Roundtable now has those, and we'll be continuing that as we go through. We were a little disappointed with the number of the stick departures that are still occurring. Been doing a lot of communication with the FAA, and we're watching it with the airport director, and we're trying to communicate back to the FAA that we're noticing this. They are aware of it. They are having issues with their computer that dispatches the flights onto given flight routes. Should automatically put these ones onto the night, but it's still giving a stick. And so we're trying to work with them to get that remedied. And barring no questions here, I'll go over to the noise action plan report.
I don't see any. Please go ahead, proceed.
All right. So our noise action plan that we've been following for 2 years now, we've been wanted to make sure that we had a living document, something that was able to handle additions, new ideas, as well as marking items that we would be unable to proceed with. There were just certain things that we thought too far outside the box on, and unfortunately just cannot do that for whatever reason, depending on the project that we thought about. We've added
Bert, my apologies. Do you mean to have your screen black, or you have something to show us?
Oh, no, let's see. I should be sharing. Let me try that one more time.
Thank you.
There we go. Are you able to see that now?
It's starting.
Good. So we know that the new needs arise, and then again, some projects just certainly weren't feasible for us. The objectives we had when we created the plan, we had 6 general categories. We were looking at quieter planes, less nighttime noise, quieter flight procedures. We were to catch more of the louder flights, reducing the overall environmental impact, and improving and expanding our noise data. So each of the categories are here: the quieter planes, quieter procedures, working with the communities, expanding the program, and then land use planning and noise insulation program. So everything dovetails with us here, and that's why we're reporting out for multiple. So under the quieter planes, we have the strategies of collecting more accurate and intensive data on the aircraft flying, encouraging the use of the quieter aircraft at SFO in our communications with the airlines. We continuously reach out to the airlines for periodic updates, monitor fleet changes, report on the distribution different stage aircraft is coming. We've been working on ways to monitor that, and that's not as easy a task as one might think. When one goes to the different certification levels, one will find that for, say, the A320, for example, there may be 30, 40, 50 different variants of that aircraft. Some are stage 3, some are stage 4. And then the newest ones, stage 5. So we're trying to set those up so that we can report out on the different stage levels that we have operating here and show how high we are. We believe we're quite high based on what we've seen so far. One of the highlights we mentioned last roundtable was the completion of the retrofitting of the A320 fleet. And you can see on the link there if you wish to jump over and view that yourselves. Some of the quieter procedures, we're working with the FAA for new routes, procedures if we can, outreach to pilots about preferred routes that are available, and work with the airlines and voluntarily flying these procedures and see if we can get incentives to do this. We've established biweekly communication with the FAA. We communicate using a new innovative approach system through GBAS, ground-based augmentation system. We promoted the creation of new nighttime routing through the Night and Hush, and we're continuously reviewing airline procedures and outreaching where we can. Some of the highlights of the Group 1 SFO GBAS procedures were submitted for review and approval. And as you all know, we mentioned earlier, the nighttime hush is implemented between 1 and 5. We're tracking its usage and we'll see if we can get any noise reduction out of it. The work with the communities. So we're expanding our direct involvement with the community members. We're looking to get deeper into this as we go through. And the actions that we've done, well, some of the strategies are increasing the community access through the noise portal. Actions are expanding the reporting options, providing new reporters unfamiliar with aircraft noise, more background information and details that are tailored to them that they can access through the website and the noise portal. One of the ways that we're looking to inform the communities, again, the noise portal and our regular website that we redesigned over a year ago. And we're continuously updating that so that we have the updates in the public's hands. And we're always trying to find new ways to involve community members in the aircraft noise issues. Some of the issues, the highlights I mentioned earlier were creation of the GBAS noise installation program, GBAS and noise installation program. They're viewable on the noise portal with loads of information. And it's all very helpful to Lewis's program as well as the airport in general. We released the noise reporting app. We're always dialing that in, and we're soon to have our IVR noise reporting hotline, which is automated voice reporting for them. Expanding the noise program. Most of you already know that we updated our system and upgraded it in 2019. New permanent noise monitors. We reevaluated our monitor thresholds. We've implemented those. Shorter duration times, meaning we'll have more events rather than run-on events from a single aircraft. We'll have a Neem in our system soon that will be able to track the non-Title 21 noise monitors, expanding our portable noise monitoring, increasing more regular monitoring at locations through ad hoc residential that are on request. We've already started that program back up. And we're configuring our noise to track correlation methods to better get the backblast noise from takeoffs and landing noise from reverse thrust. We're teaching our system as we go through and grooming our data, and the vendors taking that information, improving their algorithms to be able to find these things, and we'll be able to better report on it, particularly using a Neem. The automated report generation on our portables gives us quicker turnaround and on recurring reports, and we'll soon have our ad hoc reports into that as well, so that we can actually turn these reports quickly, get them back in the community's hands, in addition to our regular office duties. So we've touched on our new permanent monitors, the thresholds, increased automation for the reports. Flight quiet reports been automated, the aircraft noise and portable reporting. The new portable locations that we started on that the Roundtable requested were Palo Alto, East Palo Alto, and Pacifica. And we're about ready to culminate that with a report for those sites back to the Roundtable. The land use planning and noise installation program. Lewis touched on most of that, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but we're trying to impede residential development. We're in the noise sensitive areas such as the 65 decibel noise contour. the actions we're doing, performing outreach with the next round of construction that Lewis mentioned, and enhancing the public knowledge of the program through the portal. The work with sensitive areas and community leaders to restrict the residential developments in these sensitive areas. The noise installation program's newest round of construction, as Lewis mentioned, started in October. And then the posts on the website are available through noise.flysfo.com. Here's our highlights timeline that we look at. So in 2020, anything checkmarked with green is either completed or established. So under 2020, we were able to check mark quite a few things. And by no means this is all of them. This is just the highlights. And then you can see as we get into 2022, some of these are near term with the N. And as we get into 2023 and beyond, we're looking at more of our midterm being up to 2 years, and then long-term 5 years. Within 5 years is what we're hoping for on those. And so research on noise effects of supersonic aircraft, producing the GBAS procedures, noise abatement signage on the airport for the carriers and pilots, and expanding information and use of the in-use information for the public. And with that, I'll turn it over if we have any questions.
Thank you, Bert. Before we move to questions, I understand we have quorum, so let me acknowledge our colleagues who had joined us. Ms. Wentworth, would you please call on the roll call for the votes who were not present when we took the roll call?
Yes, sir. CCAC Airport Land Use Commission.
Unmuted here.
Thank you, Carol. City of Daly City. City of Daly City. Who do we have at area code 650 starting 393?
I have asked them to unmute their line. I am 99% sure that is member DiGiovanni, but I'm not sure if she's having issues unmuting her line.
Let's see.
We could probably move on to next, which is the Burlingame.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I wonder if any of our other city council members happen to have a contact phone number or email or contact phone number for Ms. Giovanni? DiGiovanni?
I do. Let me text her.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm here. Ricardo Ortiz, pardon my tardiness. I had a work appointment.
I'm sorry. City
Understood.
of Burlingame.
Welcome.
$13. Counting to. Mr. Chair, I show 13 members at this time.
Wonderful.
We have a
So
quorum.
we have a quorum. Thank you, Ms.
Yes, sir.
Wentworth, and thank you for everybody who joined us. Let's go back then to the business at hand, which was the SFO team presentation. Any questions for Mr. Ganong or anything else that was presented? I see member Schneider hand up.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Bert. I really enjoyed the slide called Expanding the Noise Program, because I think that's the first time we've seen low frequency noise showing up. You know my frustration that anytime we talk about airplanes being quieter and we're talking about stage 3 to stage 4, stage 5, that's all in good, but it doesn't include any changes, and please correct me if I'm wrong, any changes in low frequency noise or taxiing noise. So it's really hard for me to talk to my constituents and say, oh, these airplanes are getting quieter, because that is not what we experience here. So maybe you could put an asterisk in there, and maybe we can encourage the FAA and the last time I called it the Boeing, but it's really what the Whitney Bows and the jet manufacturers to really start working on reduction of low frequency noise. And we might start, it might be true not just for airplanes in flight, but airplanes on the ground too. So it's just frustrating when I see that. And then my last question, so that's kind of a comment, Bert, but I love the presentation. A Neem for non-Title 21. I thought a Neem was going to help us with the Title 21s because it's going to be able to pick up the low frequency noise. Can you help me understand better?
A Neem better correlates a aircraft noise event using a model. So if the model itself has low frequency noise in it for that aircraft, and it pops up saying, okay, we had this aircraft in the area, it will tie it better to the event is what we're noticing. As far as low frequency goes, yes, it's correlating those. We're doing real well with looking at events as they are on the runway and go. And so that's helpful there. And so looking for more there. As far as taxiing aircraft, systems really aren't set up for that. But as far as catching it and trying to quantify it somehow, we're working on that.
Excellent. Thank you, Bert. And I do remember ETUGs, which I'll talk about in my comments from ground-based noise. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Member Schneider. I see Member Taylor's hands up. Member Taylor, welcome.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Bert, for the presentation. I just wanted to follow up on the selections for the new portable monitoring locations. And I did ask for a location in Menlo Park, but I noticed Menlo Park was not selected.
When the roundtables, what do you call it? The Portable Noise Monitoring Subcommittee set us into motion back in 2019. They had 3 sites, and the first one was definitely Pacifica. Second one was definitely Palo Alto, and then the third one was East Palo Alto, Menlo Park. So I didn't want to be the one that made the decision, so I asked the cities to talk amongst themselves. I was of the understanding that they had per my emails with them, and the one that came out was East Palo Alto. So we went ahead and went there. Once that program was established and running, I believe I made contact with you, or you made contact with me, and we discussed that the opportunity was missed but not gone. So I selected the daycare site over in Menlo Park. We went ahead and monitored at that location, and then we're always open for new sites that we could look forward to going to and finding more.
So is there, just a follow-up question, so is there opportunity for Menlo Park to be included, or we need to wait until the next round?
At this point in time, we're, like I said, trying to tie off the initial 3, and then we could, through the roundtables subcommittee, get it in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Pine.
Thank you. Hey, Bert, I wanted to go back to your night hush update. And could you give us your sense on how quickly we'll see improved compliance with the night hush procedure?
I'm smiling because initially out of the box, we did really, really well in May by comparison to what we had been seeing in June. July, we're starting to come around. So when you look at the table, in fact, I already closed that presentation down, otherwise I'd open it back up. But the slide that shows Oakland's, the pie charts, the 2 pie charts together, where Oakland and San Francisco are compared, you'll see a percentage. And so I think we need to change that from percentage to number, because while you'll see a significant portion of the pie is stick, it's only looking at the flights that are going southbound. We may need to reevaluate that section, and may take the roundtable's help to do that. But the long and the short of it is, July was showing that we had a lower number of stick operations, even though that pie chart did show a fairly large chunk. Others were going on to the Night Hush East, the 050 heading, things like that. So 10 runway 10 departures, all those are not going over the peninsula, which is the object of the Night Hush. But when we look at the use of the stick, there are still stick departures, and we're working with the FAA to improve that.
Okay, that answer the question, Supervisor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I see Ms. Garcia from the FAA. Flavi?
Thank you. I just have a question unrelated. First of all, I appreciate, Bert, I know you're working with our operations support group, on the numbers for Night Hush and to see how that's going. But my question for you is there any incentive, for the airlines to participate in the roundtable? And I ask this because, as we know, this, noise is in order to mitigate it, it really requires all of us, the airports, the airlines, and the FAA to work together. And there are other airport roundtables or airports that I know provide incentives to the airlines that show up at the roundtables. So I'm wondering, is there an incentive for the airlines to participate in these roundtables? Or is there any talk about that? Just curious.
The only incentive that I know about right now is basically the FlyQuiet Awards. So if the airlines do participate, there is the Chairman's Award, and that is an award that is a combination of the airlines that we've spoken with trying to get improvement, as well as those airlines that do participate at the roundtable. In the past, United participated quite heavily. We've seen some of the other carriers that were local ones, such as Virgin America when they were here. And that was significant, where we would see them, and they would definitely get the chairman's nod typically for that.
Okay. Thank you. Just wondering if that was being considered. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Member Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want first a clarification from Bert. You were talking about including other flights that were not the southbound flights for the Night Hush. And
yeah,
I'm a bit confused because I thought what we changed on the Night Hush was for the southbound flights that were using the stick, not the eastbound or the northbound.
Well, that's the thing about it. Some of the airlines did transition over to those. So just a moment, let me bring up this image and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So on this image here, what we're reporting on here are the flights that go south and west. And this doesn't tell the whole story. You see more of the whole story up here on a day-by-day basis, where you see the gray and the blue and the orange. Orange would be the sticks and the candles. What you're not looking at is the blue, the flights that do the Night Hush East. So instead of doing a stick departure going this way, if they are heading further east, they can go north to head east as well, or get a 050 heading, go down the bay and then go east. So use of the bay versus use of the peninsula is what's occurring.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bert. So to understand, you're saying there's some flights that were going east that were doing the stick procedure and turning around and going east?
We head north. Yeah, well, so on the stick, yes, yeah. We've had stick departures go anywhere from due south to almost due east.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And so one of the ones that we're noticing, even with the night and the hush operations, don't always make it out to gobs out here. They'll get going and then the computer says, well, I'm going to a waypoint that's out over here, I'm going to go ahead and execute my turn a little early and go here.
Oh,
And so it's not early per se, but it looks early. If you look at the tolerance for that a waypoint that is a flyby waypoint, it's fairly large. There's a lot of room there where the aircraft can do that turn, and the computers go ahead and make those calculations and do it.
okay. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the clarification, but I was kind of
No
confused
problem.
when you said that. And then if I could ask Fabi, on those other roundtables where they include the airlines, what are the incentives for the airlines? I'm curious.
Yeah, they have programs where they give the airlines points, and I'm not sure how it is fully carried out. Ricardo, we can talk offline about what these airports are doing and who they are and how they carry it out. But there are some incentives that I am aware of where they get points. And if they show up, listen to the community's concerns and partake in the conversation, and it allows for a more collaborative conversation. It just helps us all. So
I'm
know
intrigued.
that it's a point
I'm
system.
intrigued, Fabi. I'll reach out and we can talk about it. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. So typically, we would take public comments at the end of all presentation, but since we went out of order, I would like to give the public the opportunity to comment on the chairman's update and the SFO airport director's update. If any members of the public would like to speak or have questions on these items, please raise your hand, and Ms. Montes could monitor and introduce the speakers.
Thank you, Chairman. I do see 3 hands raised for these presentation items. So I will first call on Mark Scholl, followed by Peter Grace. And if Janet, if you could just help me with the timer. And Mr. Scholl, once you see the clock, you may begin your comment.
Thank you. I just want to make a couple comments on the presentation. One is related to moving forward with the night hush and doing more of those sorts of routes and procedures. One of the programs the NAC has been working on and moving up in priority is a program called Multiple Airport Route Separation, which I think is highly applicable. In fact, SFO is one of the airports targeted, but for specific arrivals during bad weather. But it is a way of allowing procedures between 2 airports to be much more coordinated, such that the routes that can fly closer together, almost as if they're one virtual airport. I think that's something that we need to keep up with, promote, and I think it could have a lot of applicability here. Relating to some of the newer planes, I do think we have to be careful. As Ann says, from a exhaust the back end of the airplane and low frequency noise, it's actually an issue. The only thing that you really can do is make a higher bypass ratio, which the engines can't do anymore unless you move the wings up. The reduction in noise is on the turbofan, which helps departures if you're in front of it, not if you're behind it. And the other thing about this new 220 is it has quite a loud noise on arrival. So yes, there's a huge reduction in one area, but increases in the other area. So when you hear those things, you really have to take them with a grain of salt, and it's all how the FAA measures things. If they measured them a more balanced perspective with the nuances, you'd realize that some people are getting more noise from these new planes and some people are getting less. But overall, you really have to be careful in what is said. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. I will next call on Peter Grace, followed by Darlene Yapley. Mr. Grace.
My name is...
Go ahead. Yes, Mr. Grace, we can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Ganong, for your presentation. Extremely helpful. I would like to make 2 comments. I'd like to thank you for sharing data of the flights through the Brisbane Gate 2010 to current, and encourage either Satiro to continue to support sharing this and other data. My second comment is, Mr. Ganang made an extremely effective outreach to the community, goal 3 of the 5 goals in this presentation. In November 2021, Mr. Ganang held a meeting with the public and EnviroSuite about Neem, the method used at Washington, D.C. airports to more accurately count noise events. The discussion was highly productive and moved the Neem adoption forward. As a background, the current method presented in the director's report of exceedance in duration is outdated and severely undercounts noise events. The Washington, D.C. noise manager stated that at his airport, the threshold and duration method at one monitor showed 65 events per day, while Neem showed 300, almost 5 times as many events. Was severe undercounting. As Bert just reported, the public was told at the November meeting that Neem would be used to report the non-Title 21 monitor noise events starting January 22. This has not happened, and we want to understand why. The airport's proposed next step is a discussion at the technical working group. The technical working group format does not work where the information being presented is complicated and the conversation has to go back and forth to clarify. The process used to work where we all met in the same room, but not now, where the meetings are held on Zoom and the public's one-way input is limited to 2 minutes. Therefore, to continue strong community engagement, I asked the Roundtable to suggest that Mr. Ganang and EnviroSuite and consultants convenes another meeting with the same public attendees as the previous Neem meeting. The technical working group should not be a substitute for another public and SFO meeting and should be held prior to the technical working group meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Hindi, for giving me extra time.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Grayson. I will call on the last hand raised. That is Ms. Yapley.
Mr. Ganang, thank you for your presentation on noise action plan. We appreciate the collaborative plan with categories to reduce aircraft noise. Quieter procedures category. Does continuous review of procedures and outreach, especially during nighttime hours, include cargo planes? I have heard that another Western US airport is making progress on reducing departure noise by changing how planes are flown and therefore optimizing existing FAA procedures. Is this in scope for the quieter procedures category? I also understand that the airline incentives to reduce noise from the airport is gate access. So I think that's a heck of an incentive. Is SFO advocating to be one of the earliest airports to use terminal sequencing and spacing to reduce noise? Expanding the noise program category. We applaud SFO's decision to use a Neem, and as Peter mentioned, we really encourage another small meeting with the public and EnviroSuite to discuss the details, which were extremely helpful last time we met to move the program forward. Secondly, please clarify whether SFO will start reporting an above metric to support its strategy of accurate and diverse data, especially since the GAO report states N above provides a better understanding of aviation impacts. The working with communities category. I hope the reference to communities means communities that are impacted by SFO operations and not restricted to Roundtable member cities. Please clarify communities include non-Roundtable cities. What is the requested way for non-Roundtable cities to pursue quieter procedures with the airport? In summary, here are my questions. Clarify communities include non-Roundtable cities. How do non-Roundtable cities pursue noise reductions with SFO? Are you including cargo planes at night? Are you including how planes fly, not just new procedures, and looking at other incentives? Are you doing TSAS? And could you please support N above and in another public meeting to discuss the rollout of Neem? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Yapley. Chairman, we do not have any more hands raised for these presentation items.
Thank you, Ms. Montes. And just for the public, I will give you another opportunity after we do the subcommittee updates presentation when we get to those. Thank you, Mr. Yekel, Mr. Moreno, and Mr. Ganong for your presentation. Mr. Ganong, I want to echo the other speakers who complimented you on the noise action plan presentation. I also want to compliment you on the report on the night hush. Its infographic are really easy to understand and very illustrative. So thank you so much for that. With that, I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah. The chair, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I clarify something Mr. Grace said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to interrupt. This is Ann Schneider, Chair of Ground-Based Noise, where a Neem has been talked about, but I didn't think that having the discussion of a Neem was best suited for ground-based noise, that it would be better for technical working group. And Mr. Grace, I agree with you. I miss having those technical working group meetings in person where sometimes it was even small enough that everybody got to talk. Chair, I would offer, if there is an opportunity that we might want to have the working group meeting in person. I talked to my city manager today. City Hall is open again. Maybe we have one of those meetings on something so technical and we try to have it back in person. That's up to you. But Mr. Grace, it was me asking for it to go to technical working group because we just don't meet often enough with ground-based noise to dive into it the way it needs to be broken and dived into. Sorry, bad grammar. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Schneider. Okay, so now I would really like to get back to the order of the agenda, and I would like to go back to ask for a motion to set the agenda and approve the consent items.
So moved.
Second, Dave Pine.
Thank you. I got a motion by Member Ortiz and seconded by Supervisor Pine. Ms. Wentworth, roll call, please.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Thank you, guys. I'm so sorry. Let's start again. Starting at the top, City and County of San Francisco Board of Supervisors, City and County of San Francisco Mayor's Office, City and County of San Francisco Airport Commission.
Yes.
San Mateo County Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
CCAG Airport Land Use Commission.
Yes.
Town of Atherton. Town of Belmont. City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay. Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae.
Yes.
City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley. City of Redwood City.
Yes.
City of San Bruno. City of San Carlos. City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco.
Yes.
And Town of Woodside. We have a motion passes.
Thank you. So let me correct myself. I just got myself not asking if anyone wants to pull an item from the consent agenda. Apparently not, but my apologies for not providing you that opportunity. And let me also go to Ms. Monte to see if any member of the public would like to speak on this item.
Thank you, Chairman Hindi. Maybe we can give it a couple seconds, but I do not see any virtual hands raised for this item. Thank you. Oh,
Thank you, Sam.
Pardon me. I see public member Peter Grace has his hand raised, so let me give him permission to speak.
Okay.
Mr. Grace?
Okay, I'm unmuted. Thanks a lot. I'm not sure. I'd like to just talk about the approval of the draft minutes. Is this the place, or is it, or are you going to come back to it later?
I'm sorry, Mr. Grace, which item?
Approval of the draft minutes.
Oh, this is a place and the time.
So this is the right place or the wrong place?
No, it is the right place. Please go ahead.
Could I draw your attention to the huge difference in the 3 draft minutes presented? The draft minutes note what each member of the public spoke about. In the prior 2 minutes presented to be approved today, only the public's name was given. This is a huge improvement, and I hope the start of the inclusion of the public as participating and contributing members to the Roundtable's goal of reducing the noise impact on the communities. Thank you for taking the time to record what the members of the public spoke about. I hope where information presented is factually incorrect or misleading in a presentation, the public's note of the inconsistency will be noted in the minutes, and perhaps even in the summing up at the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grace. And Chairman, we do not have any more hands raised for this item.
Thank you, Ms. Montez. Moving along, we're going to move on to item number 4, which is an action item. East Palo Alto request for Roundtable membership. Roundtable coordinator Kathleen Wentworth will give us a brief presentation. Ms. Wentworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is item 4 on your agenda, pages 31 to 39, if you would like to follow along or refer. Let me just briefly recap what that says. Basically, the San Francisco Roundtable bylaws provide that any city or town in San Mateo County that is not a member of the Roundtable may request membership of the Roundtable in accordance with the membership procedure contained in the most current version of the MOU. And furthermore, in the bylaws, it states on page 32, similarly, other unincorporated towns and or cities located within San Mateo County may request voting membership on the San Francisco International Airport Community Roundtable by adopting a resolution, sub A, authorizing 2 members of the City Town Council, a representative and alternate, to represent the city town on the roundtable. Sub B, agreeing to comply with this memorandum of understanding and all related amendments and any bylaws approved in accordance with the MOU. Sub C, agreeing to contribute annual funding to the roundtable in the same amount as current city town members contribute at the time of the membership request, or such annual funding as approved by the roundtable for a new member. Earlier, in response to the suggestions from several roundtable members to invite East Palo Alto to join the roundtable, staff contacted the city of East Palo Alto, and after subsequent discussions, East Palo Alto has now completed the processing as required to be accepted as a roundtable member. On June 21st, the City Council of East Palo Alto passed a resolution shown on page 38 of your packet that incorporates the required appointment of 2 members, agreeing to comply with the roundtable MOU and agreeing to contribute funding to the roundtable. After the resolution was adopted, Councilmember Regina Wallace-Jones and Councilmember Antonio Lopez were selected as member and alternate respectively to the San Francisco Roundtable. Now shown on page 31 of your packet is the recommendation for your consideration this evening. The recommendation is for the Roundtable to approve the request from the City of East Palo Alto for voting membership in the Roundtable, since they have made application in accordance with the San Francisco Roundtable MOU and the San Francisco bylaws. Such membership to take effect immediately. In addition, San Francisco Roundtable staff is directed to update the San Francisco Roundtable bylaws to reflect the addition of the City of East Palo Alto as a voting member of the Roundtable, and to also show the town of Colma as a voting member of the Roundtable. You will notice that in addition to approving the membership of East Palo Alto, the recommendation also includes giving direction to staff to add Palo Alto to the bylaws as well as Colma. And due to an oversight when Colma was approved for membership last year, direction to include Colma in the bylaws update to the roster did not happen. While that didn't affect the membership of Colma in any way, we would like to add Colma as well as East Palo Alto to the roster in our bylaws. Any questions, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Ms. Wentworth. Let me open it to membership and see if anyone has any questions or comments on item number 4 and Ms. Wentworth's presentation. I do not see any hands up. Thank you, Ms. Wentworth. With that, I'm going to go ahead
Pardon
and...
me, Chairman Hindi. Member Schneider has her hand raised.
Okay, I apologize.
Sorry, you know, this is my favorite meeting of all meetings. Thank you, Chair.
I know.
I want to say thank you, and I can't say how happy I am to have East Palo Alto join us. That said, on page 44 of our agenda packet, in the 3rd paragraph, is a statement that I don't believe is quite true. It's in the preamble. I don't think it should hold up the voting on this, but it says that other agencies follow the air pollution that comes out of the airport. And given that I'm in almost weekly conversations with the California Air Resources Board, that is not true, and with US EPA in terms of air pollution. I'd love it if that one line was removed, but I'm not going to fight it. I just want it on the record and in the minutes that my work in trying to protect the air quality for my residents in the close-in neighborhoods, there is nobody keeping an eye on it. There are no monitoring devices. There is nothing there. And it's page 44, Kathleen. I'm sorry I didn't get it to you yesterday. But
This
page
is
44.
page 44 of the MOU.
No, page 44. I'm looking up the page. Page 44 of the packet. It is.
But I mean, it's the preamble to the MOU.
It's the preamble, and it's in the second paragraph where it says vehicular airport ground access and airport related air quality issues have been and continue to be addressed by other public area or other Bay Area public agencies. And in my experience, trying to help Millbrae, that is not a true statement. So I'd love to make a motion. Can we drop it? Can we just drop that line?
Well, this is the MOU was adopted in 2005.
Okay. All right. I'll bring it back the next time we open it up. Because it's been very frustrating. I have many friends in EPA offices around the country, and they're doing research for me, and I can't find anybody to help us with particulate matter coming from jet engines after the FAA reported it in October 2019 at our roundtable meeting. So if we can put that in a future repair list.
I'll make note of it, Ms. Schneider, yes.
Then I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Not yet. Let me go to the public. I'm going to open it to the public comment on item number 4.
Thank you, Chairman. If we can give it a couple seconds for members of the public that wish to speak on item number 4. But Chairman, I do not see any virtual hands raised for this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Montes. Then I would close public comment for item number 4. And do I have a member willing, which I know Ms. Schneider does, to make a motion that the SFO Roundtable approve the request of the City of East Palo Alto for voting membership in the San Francisco Roundtable, since they have made application in accordance with the SFO Roundtable Memorandum of Understanding and the SFO Roundtable bylaws. Such membership will take effect immediately. In addition, direct SFO Roundtable staff to update the SFO Roundtable bylaws to reflect the addition of the City of East Palo Alto as a voting member of the SFO Roundtable, and to also show the town of Colma as a voting member of the SFO Roundtable. Looking for a motion as stated.
So moved, Mr. Chair, happily.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, Member Ortiz moved, and who is second?
Member Taylor.
Thank you, Member Taylor. I have a motion for Member Ortiz and a second for Member Taylor. Ms. Wentworth, please, roll call.
City and County of San Francisco Board of Supervisors. City and County of San Francisco Mayor's Office. City and County of San Francisco Airport Commission.
Yes.
San Mateo County Board of Supervisors.
Yes.
CCAC Airport Land Use Commission.
Yes.
Town of Atherton. City of Belmont. City of Brisbane.
Yes.
City of Burlingame.
Yes.
Town of Colma.
Yes.
City of Daly City. City of Foster City.
Yes.
City of Half Moon Bay. Town of Hillsborough.
Yes.
City of Menlo Park.
Yes.
City of Millbrae.
Yes.
City of Pacifica.
Yes.
Town of Portola Valley. City of Redwood City.
Yes.
City of San Bruno. City of San Carlos. City of San Mateo. City of South San Francisco.
Yes.
And Town of Woodside. And the motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Wentworth. I don't see any members from East Palo Alto with us on the call, or am I missing somebody, Ms. Montes?
That is correct, Chairman. We do not have their representative with us tonight.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome East Palo Alto to the SFO Roundtable. With their membership tonight, we basically, every city, town in San Mateo County is a member of the SFO Roundtable. I look forward to their contribution and to their representation of their city and constituents on the roundtable. Thank you so very much. Moving on, I'm going to go ahead. Obviously,
May I ask a quick question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Will East Palo Alto be a member of the Airport Land Use Committee now? Because they're covered in our Land Use Committee, but we don't capture them when we discuss issues. And I know there's a lot of development around the airport there.
I would imagine, but I don't know the answer. So we could look that up for you and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we did the chairman update and we did the airport director's update. Next item would be item number 7 on the agenda, the subcommittee updates. We have the update from the technical working group meeting on July 8th and the ground-based noise meeting on July 21st and the legislative subcommittee update. I will go ahead and start with the technical working group. I will give that update on the technical working group meeting. SFO GBAS program update included a GBAS timeline and a concept to incorporate monitoring the Group 1 innovative approaches after implementation. The SFO GBAS group is soliciting Group 2A procedure concepts, and the SFO GBAS project team will be presenting a Group 1 noise monitoring plan at the September technical working group meeting. If you're interested in the GBAS, join us at the technical working group meeting in September. SFO's noise office presented information on the collection of data relating to nighttime flights and its display in a graphic format. And I think Bert this evening even presented more than that for all of us. So thank you again, Bert. The technical working group members had a discussion about the critical importance of nighttime noise, the importance to residents, health and quality of life, and the impact on children who struggle to learn when they come to school sleep deprived. While the night hush procedure is only available for 4 hours each night, the roundtable continues to communicate with the FAA on the possibility of expanding shoulder hours. We acknowledge the collaborative process among the FAA, Congresswoman Spears' office, SFO, and the advocates of the communities that led to the implementation of the night hush. And we would like to work with the FAA to build on that success. The roundtable wants to work collaboratively with the FAA, focusing on nighttime noise, with the hope that perhaps many modest improvements could bring some needed improvement to our residents. I think this is really important. I can't thank the FAA enough for their work, and I know it was a lengthy process on the night hush procedure that we had. It really brought relief for those who are under the sky in those areas. And we know it was not an easy task. It took a lot of collaboration and a lot of time, but it is, again, our hope, and I know that the FAA would be meeting us on the same spirit to continue to build on that and make more progress, and especially in nighttime noise reduction. The last item that I have for you on the technical working group report, at the September technical working group meeting, the FFA will be presenting on the successes and the challenges remaining on the implementation of the night hush nighttime noise abatement procedure. In addition, they will provide the hourly flight volume, which constrains the hours of use of the night hush. That is my report from the technical working group, and I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to the chair of the ground-based noise subcommittee, Member Schneider.
Thank you, Chair. I want to give a huge thank you to Angela and Kathleen. We have a slightly new style now. We had a pre-meeting and basically talked about, are there some ways that we could make some small changes and people near the airport might actually experience change. And that's a new approach for us, and I'm very grateful. With that, I think we had a very productive meeting with everyone involved. We talked about runway usage. We built a little bit on the spectral analysis study, but we tried to look in to see what didn't get answered. So for example, if 2 airplanes are taking off on one left and one right, is there an additive wave, or a canceling wave. And with Kathleen, she's going to help us try to identify gaps in the information where we might be able to find those small wins. We also, Jean, staff member, or our consultant Jean, had also shared, but not in time for agendizing it, CTAC study, so Seattle, Tacoma, Washington Airport study that they've done on rolling runways. So that is something we're going to take into effect. And I kind of liken this to when the airplanes taxi. Oh, Kathleen, can you pull up the map, the photographs that you showed? Kathleen created this a Google map of the airport. And as the taxis come around, if they stop at the runway, then they've got to pump their engines to get them moving. So if we did more of a California stop at the airport, maybe the airplanes wouldn't have to gun as much, and we might get tiny incremental improvements on ground-based noise. And this is the first time we've done it. So if you look at Kathleen's, you can see the airplanes kind of taxiing around, and you can also see just how close our Bayside Manor neighborhood is to runway 1 left and runway 1 right. So this is just some things that we're playing around with, a new way of looking at things, and then trying to see if we can collect the data that might say, yes, a rolling takeoff might help. Another thing, both these runways were extended closer to Millbrae and also to Burlingame, if you're counting Burlingame farther up the hill in Hillsborough, by 250 feet on the left and 450 feet on the right. But not all airplanes might need that entire runway. So maybe there's a procedure, and I'm not sure if that's the right term to use, because when I hear procedure, we're talking about which gateways they're using up in the air. But if a runway on 1 right, the longer of the runways, if a smaller airplane could take off or start its work farther down the runway, maybe there would be noise improvements to Millbrae and the Burlingame neighborhoods. Ricardo, you're going to have to help me, but Ray Park, I don't know all your neighborhoods in Burlingame, but there might be some benefits just for some of the planes moving a little bit farther down the runway before they take off. So this is kind of a new thing for us to look at noise that way. And then there's still the outstanding question that if 2 planes are taking off near each other, that might be how it has to be during the busiest times at the airport. But if it's at nighttime, when there are theoretically fewer flights, maybe a different use of the runways could happen. This is not shifting noise to another place, but there might be something that we can do to help reduce nighttime noise. And then we also discovered something that is interesting. We were talking about the public's perception of noise and why some days seem to be so much louder than others. And it's the first time in my 6.5 years on the Roundtable that I've heard about how temperature inversions, which we are subjected to all the time, can actually bounce noise back down. I'm more familiar with the amphitheater in Mountain View, that the noise there bounces right down an inversion layer into one of the neighborhoods in Palo Alto, to the point where Mountain View can't keep the concerts running that late on those nights. So, and also how wind direction and strength might take into account, and wind cover, and how we might look at data with some of these. It may not change the experience, but it may help our public understand why on certain days it seems so bad, and then other days it doesn't seem to be that bad. So I again, huge thanks to Kathleen and Angela. They let me kind of brainstorm and came up with this great new approach, and I am very grateful. And I'm very grateful for the other members, for Tom Hamilton and Al. And we welcome the public to our meetings. I think our next meeting is in November, Angela?
I believe
Yes,
so.
it will be in November.
In November. So tiny steps forward.
Wonderful. Okay, moving along, we're gonna move on to Vice Chair Royce on an update on the Legislative Committee.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll keep the report brief since we did not meet since our last meeting. We meet twice a year. We meet in the spring, and I reported on that meeting at, I think, the June meeting. And then we will meet again in September, late September, early October. I would remind you that our current memberships are myself and Schneider from Millbrae and Pam DiGiovanni from Daly City, but it's a public meeting and we welcome any and all participants, including members, obviously members of the Roundtable. I would note that our next meeting in September, October is probably going to follow up on what we talked about in spring, and that is a focus around the authorization for funding for the FAA, the reauthorization, and where that money might be spent and any input we might provide on it. I would note that since we last met, the House has passed an FAA authorization bill. There was about, I think Kathleen, correct me, about $46 million that went into research on clean and other areas with respect to aviation noise. We really will spend the next meeting, I think, trying to understand exactly where that money will be spent, how much is fuel efficiency versus noise efficiency, and so forth, and then try to figure out what kind of advocacy we ought to take around it. The Senate has yet to adopt an appropriations bill with respect to this or approve anything. That will probably be the $24 question, as they say, as we try to figure out exactly what they will or will not do or will not approve. I would note just in passing that although we've not met as a group, Kathleen and I did reach out to Emily Tranter from the noise group and did so for three reasons. So one, of trying to make sure we can walk and talk about expanding our relationship with them. They provide a valuable resource and could be a valuable resource to us. They're involved in aviation advocacy, aviation lobbying. And so we want to make sure that we have a communications connection with them. And I had not met with her before, so that was valuable for me. Secondly, we wanted to tap more into what they are doing and are proposing to do, because if we can collaborate more thoroughly with them, that may make us more effective in our advocacy. And thirdly, quite candidly, we wanted to utilize the talent and resources they have to provide a more in-depth update on exactly what's going on in Washington. So we had a very good communication with Emily. She is more than delayed to extend a more robust lines of communications with us. And so we're going to follow up on that. I would also note that we noted in passing that there's been a couple letters sent around advocacy. One was the Quiet Skies Caucus letter. They sent it to the Department of Transportation, Secretary Buttigieg, with respect to membership on the what they call a Next Gen Advisory Committee, advocating an expansion of that membership to specifically include members who live under the Next Gen routes. I'm not sure where that's going to go, but I thought that was a positive step forward. My understanding right now, and Kathleen, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's a single member of the Next Gen Advisory Group that lives under a Next Gen route. And so that's to me a problem.
I don't know. They do have one member who's given the title of representing the environment and the communities, environmental and communities, and where he lives, I don't know.
Yeah. So I think it's a group that we can have some input on the composition of membership. Again, working in a collaborative way may be effective for us. I would also note that at our next meeting, Kathleen's suggestion, I think is a great suggestion. We may try to bring back, and Fabia, perhaps you can help me. I think a few years ago, we had a representative of FAA on the CLEAN program, exactly how it works and where the money goes and what the priorities are. That may be part of, if there's new appropriations for it, that may be something of interest to the roundtable. So we may want to follow up and explore that further. And I will note that the House Appropriations Committee did send a letter, and they did make a note in it that the reminding the FAA that the Committee on the Status of the Noise Policy Review is overdue. And there's a lot of interest in that, not to understate it, I guess, and a friendly reminder that we're all anxiously awaiting getting that report. So I think, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we talked about in the interim, but I think that was probably what I wanted to report back for this evening. Kathleen, did I miss anything?
No, sir, not a thing that I can think of. Thank you.
Okay. And again, our meeting in September, October, we'll send the meeting dates out. I think the bulk of the agenda will be discussing the FAA appropriations bill, but if you have any ideas, thoughts, suggestions, we welcome them because we're trying to make sure that we're effective in what we're advocating and spending our time and resources on. So thank you. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Royce. And let me just say the public and members are all welcome on these subcommittees. This is really where we do the work, and we welcome all the input and all different perspectives and ideas on how we all together tackle the noise issue and in your case, legislation. So thank you for all your hard work. Let me go ahead and open it to members of the roundtable if they have any questions or comments on item 7A, B, and C, which are the subcommittee reports. Give me 1 second. I see member Ortiz hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say, first of all, thank you to Chair Royce and Chair Schneider for their hard work on these committees. And I just go back to the ground-based committee and the new approach that we have. And I'm just love the new approach and the ideas that are coming out of it. And some of the things you guys just presented, I'm unfortunately sometimes not able to join because of work, but I'm certainly going to try to join in November because that sounds really interesting. So thank you for the new change. It really, the whole idea is to try to move the needle. And I think if we focus on that, we might accomplish something. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Moving on to item number 8 on our agenda, member communications and announcement.
Pardon me, Chairman, we do need to open public comment for item 7A through C.
Sure, let's go ahead and do that. I was gonna move on to public comment right after, but let's go ahead and do that.
Oh, pardon me.
No worry, let's go. We
I
can do it.
do see Mark Scholl has his hand raised. Mr. Scholl, once you see the timer, please proceed.
Hi, yeah, just a piece of information. The community representative to the NAC is Brad Pierce, who lives near Centennial Airport. So yes, not under a next-gen airport. And the other thing is, there was a study, and I just was looking for it, but I couldn't find it, an early study that actually addressed the issue of accumulating noise from backblast from multiple airplanes taking off one after another on multiple runways. I believe it is San Francisco. It's an older study, but I think the science is, as I recall, the science seemed pretty good. If I can dig it out, I'll pass it along, Ann. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Scholl. And Chairman, we have no more hands raised for this item. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. We already took public comments on item 5, 6, and 7 at this point, right? So, okay, with that, any other things that I'm missing, Kathleen? I think we're at item number 9, the adjournment. Is that correct?
I think you wanted to do member announcements. Did we do that?
Okay, yes, absolutely. Yes. Number 8, then moving on to item number 8, member communication and announcement. Anyone has any announcement or comments from the membership?
Chair.
I see member Schneider.
Hi. The city of Millbrae was approached by one of the survivors of a Pan Am flight number 7 that took off from SFO to Honolulu on November 8th, 1957. So I was 2 months old and it crashed. It never arrived in Honolulu. They were able to recover some of the bodies. 44 people died, but they never recovered 25 bodies. So the survivors actually have approached Millbrae to put up a memorial plaque. It's the 65th anniversary of this crash. We have a strong relationship with Pan Am here. There is a neighborhood, and I'm trying to track it down, that Pan American built in Millbrae for its employees. But right now we're probably looking at 1 of 2 parks to put this memorial. The event we hope will be in November, and I will send it out. The person who approached us lives in Florida. He was 6 years old when he lost his father, who was a pilot on this flight. So to me, it's really lovely. It's very sad, but it's very lovely that we get to put a permanent marking place, and family members can then come and remember their families on that. So we'll let you all know when that happens. And if we can figure out which of the 3 neighborhoods I think could be the neighborhood that Pan Am built in Millbrae, probably we think during or right after World War II. We're still trying to track it down, but the city approved it unanimously. And if anybody is of the mind, the group is fundraising for it, and we'll be working with them to come up with the plaque on that. So, and it happens to be Millbray's 75th anniversary in January. So in a way, this it fits really well with as we learn and study our own history. Thank you.
Wonderful.
And thank you, Chair, for letting this go on the agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's definitely something that is appropriate, and I didn't know about the story, to be honest with you, until you brought it to my attention. So thank you for sharing that with us, and please keep us posted when you would have that ceremony. Thank you. So before we go ahead and adjourn, let me just extend my thanks to, we have these meetings and a lot of stuff goes behind the scenes, so to speak, and a lot of engineers and architects continue to make things moving in the right in the right direction. So I want to thank all staff members, our coordinator, Kathleen Wentworth, our Secretary Angela Montes, who always keep us checked, Linda Wallen, Lisa Wazasa, our county attorney, legal, and everybody else behind the scenes, our consultant, Jean Reindell from HMMH, our partners, the FAA, as well as SFO. So thank you all for being here. I wish you a good night, and we'll see you at the next meeting. With that, meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sam.